relationship with this field, because you're not living in the hormones of survival where you're trying to predict the next moment based on the past moment. You are trusting in an outcome beyond your senses. And because you're trusting in the outcome, you're in an elevated state and you feel connected to something greater. And you would never try to figure out how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. You're too busy being it. The moment you try to figure out when it's going to happen, you just return back to the old self. So the beauty here is that when you change your brain and body to look like the event has already happened, they're no longer a record of the past now. Now they're a map to the future. And to live by this law, you live by the quantum law, which says the environment is an extension of your mind. If you truly change your mind, there should be evidence in your life.
Is it you healed yourself? You had a pretty severe back injury, didn't you?
Yeah, it kind of started me on this whole journey. It helped me, you know, unfortunately, I think all of us as human beings usually wait for crisis or trauma or disease or diagnosis.
I'm sure you could
or
explain
loss.
that neurologically.
We wait for where the ego is knocked to its lowest denominator before we get about changing, because when we're in crisis, we begin to examine who we're being. We begin to look to see if these thoughts are loving to us, or if these behaviors really support us, or if these emotions are really helping us to go to a new future. So in my situation, I got run over by a truck in a triathlon.
Wow.
When I was in my 20s in Palm Springs, and I wound up breaking 6 bones in my back, and I had bone fragments on my spinal cord, and was in some pretty rough shape. And so, to make the story short, I had 4 opinions from 4 leading surgeons in Southern California, and they were all recommending that I had Harrington rod surgery, which means take the back parts off of your vertebrae and put in long stainless steel rods, and hopefully that'll get you back on your feet someday. And so I decided against the surgery. And I think I was simple enough and young enough at the time to believe that there is some power that's giving us life. I wasn't going anywhere now. I wasn't doing anything. I was laying face down and I could hardly move. And I said, look, if I could make contact with this intelligence and begin to give it a template, a design, something that I wanted, and then surrender it to this mind and ask it to resolve it in a way that was right for me, maybe, just maybe, it would begin to do the healing for me. So I understood that the power that made the body heal the body, but I think it only healed within its rudimentary, basic way, and I was asking it to go to the next level.
Where did you get that thought at 20?
I was 24 at the time, and I as I said, you know, I was a chiropractor, and one of the principles of chiropractic is the power that made the body heals the body. And so I made myself 2 promises. One was that if this intelligence existed, and if it was both personal and universal, and it was a consciousness, and consciousness is awareness, and awareness is paying attention. So it must be paying attention to me, so I might as well get really focused and get really clear on what I wanted. And so I began to design what I wanted my spine to look like. And if I found my mind wandering to something else, I would stop and start all over again.
So you trained your mind.
I didn't know that I was doing it at the time, but I began to really get very focused. And then I said that I won't let any thought go by that I didn't want to experience. I just would not let that happen, like any thought.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm never going to walk again, I'm going to be paralyzed. So my friends and family were telling me to sell my practice, and I said, I can't do that. And they said, well, it'd be better to sell it. I said, if I sell it, then it means that I won't be able to walk. I can't do that. So I just made the deal with myself that I wasn't going to let any thought slip by that I didn't want to experience. So first 4 weeks was really torturous because I didn't know how unfocused I was. But after a period of time, I started noticing that what I was doing inside of me started to produce some results outside of me. And the moment